We are touching the hearts of our seniors for the 12 Days of Goodness on the Answers for Elders podcast network. Get to know what we're up to this season of 2021.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio as we are celebrating the one and only Nesby Glasgow, former NFL player, Seattle Seahawk, Indianapolis Colt, and University of Washington Husky. And I am here with Nesby's 3 adult children, who is Nicole, Nesby, and Brandon. And all 3 of you, we have been talking about Nesby's life and growing up and who the person was that came forward. And there's a few things that I'm thinking of that you guys really talked about. He never stopped at roadblocks. It pretty much, if he had a roadblock, he would find a way to get through them. I think that's one of the things that kind of is coming through. And the other thing is he would demand more of himself than people expected, I think is another talking point that I'm getting back. And the other thing is I would say he was a huge influence over the 3 of you. I mean, it's really clear. There's a lot of dads out there that were kind of absent or missing. That wasn't your dad. He was involved in building you to be the individuals that you are. And certainly talking about Nesby as a dad, I guess I would love to. Nesby, do you want to start and tell us a little bit about your dad, as a dad, your relationship with him?
Yeah, he was always like, I just, like, as much as, they talk about they're at practice and stuff, I remember times where I remember him teaching me to ride a bike in the front yard and just, him just pushing me and just like, he just sort of just pushed me and let go. And then, I fell and he was just like, I know you could do it. It was just a weird, like, way he said it. And then the next time he pushed me, I'm riding my bike. It was just like, he would always have like this way of like this calming effect of saying something and you sort of just like being able to recognize whatever he's saying and then just do it like we talked about earlier, like primary pain and stuff like that, or getting injured, and he would just have a calming effective way of saying something. And
amazing.
You just knew, okay, it's gonna be okay. And then we just, go do whatever that was we would do. But yeah, he was always like, he coached me like, I think like 2 of my times playing football and baseball. He was like a coach always there. One time actually, he was all 3 of the coaches were Seahawks players, which was crazy. When we were in Little League, it was, and like he always coached us hard. He always was. He was just always, there in these weird moments when you like needed him. Like we're, just the perfect timing. And it was just always, I just always knew that like when we have talks, it was always like he just, it's hard to explain this calming effect he had sometimes when talking to you, and you would just get it, okay.
Yeah. I can only imagine too that your dad is, as a father, just for who he was, he probably raised you early to think globally, think of community from day one. Would that be an accurate description?
Oh yeah.
Nicole?
Yeah.
Oh, you know Ness.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, we were in the Boys and Girls Club, like commercials. We were doing Boys and Girls Club stuff. Like I think, me and my brother were in doing Boys and Girls stuff. I think by 4, we were always around the Boys and Girls Club, always
United Way.
United Way, volunteering, all the things. Like it was always important. If you had the time and ability to give, you do it. And kind of stretch on what Nesby said, that same energy I talked about earlier with his mom, like he's always on your team. Like even if he has to tell you did something wrong, like he's on your team in a way that I think I feel like a lot of new parenting books talk about now. Like he knew that then. Like he was this rowdy football player who could get loud. He was the life of the party, but at home he had the ability to be this like calming guy who talked directly to you and was going to help you with your problem and gave really good thoughtful advice that was unique to each of us, because we're 3 different people. And so it wasn't like he always gave like a cookie cutter answer. It's like he knew us well enough to give us the answer and have the faith in us for where we were at. And that's amazing. And it was fun to, as I got older, to start going to some of these events with him where he was donating his time and like see that he was giving that same energy like to folks that he like sometimes barely knew, but it was just like that. If you were in his presence, he was present with you.
And that's a gift for somebody to have that kind of presence with you, to be able to really support you to be the best person you are, not necessarily what he thinks you are. And I think that's a lot of parents have been, I know, especially in my age group. I'm older than you. I'm your dad's age, or actually older, I think, than your dad would have been. I was born in 56. So I think he was born
just 1 year.
Yeah, I was going to say. So I mean, I know in my generation, which he certainly was a boomer, you know, we have different quote unquote values, in other words, the way we do things. And it's a lot stretch. We have to realize that you guys are the different generation. You know, you grew up as an Xer, you know, or a Yer, and certainly Gen X and Gen Y, they're very different individuals, right? They have different types of values. So I can only imagine the fact that he was so expansive in his knowledge to support each and every one of you, that he would take that out into the community all the time and see the potential in others. And, you know, I equate that to when he would go on visits to 12 Days of Goodness, because he would say thank you to the seniors, which were, you know, in their 80s, 80s, 70s, 80s. He would say thank you for cheering for him. He had this amazing capacity to care. And that's really, I think, who your dad was. Brandon, what are your thoughts about that? Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's right up the alley. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Can
you.
you guys hear me?
Yeah.
You know, my thoughts on him, I think the biggest things are inspiration. You know, like my said, from a young age, I'll never forget him coaching this basketball team, inner city Indianapolis, and, you know, getting them together, and they were cool because, like, we're super young, and I remember the older guys, like, you know, kind of talking to us, and, like, you know, my dad, like, having to coach them and figure it out, but it was a joy for him to show up for those kids. You know, I remember meeting people, like at the Super Bowl, I think in San Francisco, he came out to visit me. I was out in the Bay, and we met these guys, and this guy used to play with him, and the way he pulled me aside and just like, Nesby, he's like, man, like you stood up for me back in whatever, and this and that. He's like, and you know, he's just like, hey man, anything you guys need. And he worked for Nike, and I remember this guy just being like, here's all this stuff. But so from inspiration, like, he really touched people. I've met several people. I was at an airport in Seattle, and a guy handed my ID, and he's just like, wait a minute, you're Nesby's clan? Who are you? I was like, oh, I'm his son. And he's like, man, your dad was a legend. Like, this is just
he was a legend.
Cross it. He's like, I used to watch him. I loved your dad. And that always, like, that struck me like, wow. And I have, you know, a guy in an Uber random, like, wait, Nesby? Like, I played against him. Just like, but that was one thing. But the other thing that that I watched him and I always took was overcoming adversity. And when he was in college, he played in the Senior Bowl. He actually, I think he like broke his ankle or something.
Shattered his ankle.
Shattered it. And he thought he wasn't going to go to the league. And he goes back to California, and he's basically sulking, and he's on the couch and depressed. I think he almost said he said, son, I was going to turn into a drunk. Like, it was bad. I was down bad. And his mom came in and looked at him one day, and she gave him that look and that speech that only a mother or
only she could do.
Like, if you want this dream, you better get your butt up and you better go get it. And from there, he went and he got it. And you know, for that, like, we're blessed, because like that moment, maybe she doesn't say that, we're back where he is, you know, like it changes everyone's lives, and the things that we can do for our children, other people that we're able to touch. And, you know, obviously his story goes on more from that. So overcoming adversity, inspiration, and, you know, just giving back were like huge, you know, huge.
And that's really a metaphor to what's been going on with this pandemic. You know, we've faced adversity. We've looked for the bright spots in a very dark time in our life, and certainly with racial equality being threatened, which is just overwhelming to me, and all the different things that he faced. It's like, this is an opportunity for us to really show the goodness and the amazing things that there are people out there like your dad. They don't talk about all the good that they do, but they do a lot. And I think one of the things that, we can gather from this is an amazing opportunity to showcase somebody that really has gone above and beyond, and especially during the time of the pandemic. And that was your dad. He was just like, okay, well, we'll figure this out. We'll move through. We'll do whatever it takes. And I remember one time we had a senior center call him, and he was on the golf course. And they called him and they said, Nesby, I would love to have you come. We have a situation. I don't even remember what it was. And he left his golf game and went directly to the senior center because they were out. Somebody had asked about him, or I don't even remember what it was, but I got the report back from the senior center. It's like, that was what was so amazing about him. He always put himself last and to support other people. And I would say that's the person that I knew. In our closing the segment, what would you give one word that would describe your dad? And Nesby, why don't you start?
Tough. I mean, I guess that'd be tough. I mean, if I had one word, there's a lot of words. He's definitely a unique person, but definitely tough. He was definitely tough and
so uniqueness.
He was definitely, he was unique. I mean, just this whole thought process on stuff is, to me, like, just for his age to be like, the way he was thinking about things was always different to me. And it helps me even now, just to always, but yeah, he definitely was just a super tough guy at all times. He just was like,
Brandon,
he could push through anything.
Oh man. The only thing that I don't want to sound like he was a hero to people that like really, when I talk with family and other people that were able to really witness his growth. I mean, also outside of me, but like you said, the way they speak, he was definitely a hero and inspiration like to them. So, and well, to us.
Nicole.
Dedicated, like whether it was to the game or to family or to any cause that was supposed to do his heart. Like he was going to give his all. He was dedicated.
I love it. So everyone, we're going to talk about the Nesby Glasgow Essence Award in our next segment right after this.
This podcast was brought to you by our sponsors, Humana and Care Partners. We are so grateful for your sponsorship, as well as all the senior providers that came forward to make our events happen over the 12 days of goodness. To each and every one of you, have a happy holiday season 2021.